Hi, boys and girls. It's Mrs. Daniels, and I'm going to be reading a book to you called Dear Juno. And my purpose in reading this book to you is to kind of get you thinking about someone that you want to write about this week in something that we call a hero biography. You are going to be writing the story of someone's life. It might be somebody from your family, it might be somebody outside your family that you know. Um, but anyway, this story is about a little boy named Juno who lives in the United States, but his grandmother lives in Korea and speaks Korean. And even though the little boy doesn't speak Korean, they find some creative ways to communicate with each other. So I hope you enjoy the story, and I hope it helps you think about who you may choose to write about this week. Dear Juno. Juno watched as the red and white blinking lights soared across the night sky like shooting stars, and waited as they disappeared into far-away places. Juno wondered where they came from. He wondered where they were going. And he wondered if any of the planes came from a little town near Seoul, where his grandmother lived, and where she ate persimmons every evening before bed. Juno looked at the letter that came that day. It was long and white and smudged. He saw the red and blue marks on the edges and knew the letter came from far away. His name and address were neatly printed on the front, so he knew the letter was for him. But best of all, the special stamp on the corner told Juno that the letter was from his grandmother. Juno looked at the letters and words he couldn't understand. He pulled out the photograph. It was a picture of his grandmother holding a cat. He pulled out the red and yellow flower. It felt light and gentle, like a dried leaf. Juno smiled. "Come on, Sam," Juno said. "Let's find Mom and Dad." So here you see the writing that his grandmother did. And that is the Korean language. Why do you think his grandmother included a picture of herself and this flower? I'll let you think about that for a minute. "Grandma has a new cat," Juno said as he handed the letter to his mother, "and she's growing red and yellow flowers in her garden." "How do you know she has a new cat?" Juno's father asked. "She wouldn't send me a picture of a strange cat," said Juno. "I guess not," said Juno's father. "How do you know the flower is from her garden?" asked Juno's mother. "She wouldn't send me a flower from someone else's garden," Juno answered. "No, she wouldn't," said Juno's mother. Then Juno's mother read him the letter. "Dear Juno, how are you? I have a new cat to keep me company. I named him Juno after you. He can't help me weed, but the rabbits no longer come to eat my flowers. Grandma." "Just like you read it yourself," Juno's father said. "I did read it," Juno said. "Yes, you did," said his mother. So how interesting is that? The photograph of the grandma with the cat, Juno was able to figure out some of the writing that he couldn't read. And he also figured out that that flower came from her garden. He didn't have to read the words to figure those things out. So they are able to communicate even though they don't speak the same language. At school, Juno showed his class his grandmother's picture and dried flower. His teacher even pinned the letter to the board. All day long, Juno kept peeking at the flower from his grandmother's garden. He didn't have a garden that grew flowers, but he had a swinging tree. Juno looked at the letter pinned to the board. Did his grandmother like getting letters too? Yes, Juno thought. She likes getting letters just like I do. So Juno decided to write one. After school, Juno ran to his backyard. He picked a leaf from the swinging tree, the biggest leaf he could find. How do you think he's getting a leaf? What do you think he's going to do with that leaf? Let's find out. Juno found his mother, who was sitting at her desk. He showed her the leaf. I'm going to write a letter, he told her. I'm sure it will be a very nice letter, she answered, and gave him a big yellow envelope. Yes, it will, Juno said, and then he began to draw. First, he drew a picture of his mom and dad standing outside the house. Second, he drew a picture of Sam playing underneath his big swinging tree. Then, very carefully, Juno drew a picture of himself standing under an airplane in a starry nighttime sky. After he was finished, he placed everything in the envelope. Here's my letter, Juno announced proudly. You can read it if you want. Juno's father looked in the envelope. He pulled out the leaf. Only a big swinging tree could grow a leaf this big, he said. Juno's mother pulled out one of the drawings. What a fine picture, she said. It takes a good artist to say so much with a drawing. Juno's father patted Juno on the head. It's just like a real letter, he said. It is a real letter, Juno said. It certainly is, said his mother. Then they mailed the envelope and waited. So his letter was written with drawings, and his drawings tell a story, just like words can do. One day a big envelope came. It was from Juno's grandmother. This time Juno didn't wait at all. He opened the envelope right away. Inside, Juno found a box of colored pencils. He knew she wanted another letter. I think she wants some more of his drawings, don't you? Next, he pulled out a picture of his grandmother. He noticed she was sitting with a cat and two kittens. He thought for a moment and laughed. Now his grandmother would have to find a new name for her cat. In Korea, Juno was a boy's name, not a girl's. So what did he figure out? Her cat was a girl. The cat had kittens. Then he pulled out a small toy plane. Juno smiled. His grandmother was coming to visit. So again, Juno figured a lot of things out from those clues in in the envelope that she sent. Maybe she'll bring her cat when she comes to visit, Juno said to Sam as he climbed into bed. Maybe you two will be friends. Soon Juno was fast asleep, and when he dreamed that night, he dreamed about a faraway place, a village just outside Seoul, where his grandmother, whose gray hair sat on top of her head like a powdered donut, was sipping her morning tea. The cool air feels crisp against her cheek, crisp enough to crackle, he dreams, like the golden leaves which cover the persimmon garden. So, boys and girls, we are excited about you being able to choose a person maybe from your family, maybe from somewhere else, to write about this week. And it might be somebody that you communicate with through language, and it might be somebody that you need to communicate with in a different way. And I want to share one more thing with you. This is kind of a fun activity that you may wish to complete. It is totally up to you. But basically what this is doing, it is giving you code symbols for different letters. And you can use those code symbols to figure out what the message is down here. And I'm just going to read this top part to you so you kind of have an idea what the message might kind of be about. And it says, "Save our ship. You are the captain of a cargo boat carrying packages and letters across the Pacific Ocean. You received this coded message from a passing ship. You know there are pirates in the area. It's up to you to decipher," that means figure out, "this message to avoid the pirates before they attack. Good luck." So, you have some ideas here, and I'm just going to give you an example of how you would figure this out. So let's take a look at this first letter right here. And this is what I'm going to look for in this chart to see which letter it is. So let's see. Oh, I'm looking right here, and I notice that the letter B has the same symbol. So I would make a letter B right here on this paper. Now, if you can't print out this attachment, you can just draw these spaces. So your first word would have 6 letters. Your next word, I think I counted that right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Your next word would have 7 letters, etc. So you can copy this out and see if you can crack the code. Hope you enjoyed the story and hope you enjoy this activity.